Hi everyone, my name is Flavius Sterciuc and welcome back to Pursuit of Freedom. This episode, we have the lovely Semida Moldovan and her daughter Ada Antoci. In the past, I've had an opportunity just to say accomplishments about the guest. But this being a unique and different episode, I actually had them each write about the other person. And so I'm going to read what they wrote about each other. And so let's go for it. This is Semida to Ada. My firstborn, when I had Ada, I thought the whole world needed to know that I brought a human into this world. I was like, wow, a gentle, soft, and innocent child. A child that every parent dreams and wishes to have. With no exaggeration, that was Ada. She matured so quickly, as she was so needed in our new way of living after arriving in the States. She helped us with navigating through language barriers, and she never showed signs of unhappiness or unwillingness to help. She is a person that can't say no to anybody. She grew up a young lady that loves God. She dedicated her life to Christ when she was 18. She participated in mission trips, and she is an absolutely amazing daughter, loving sister, wonderful wife, and an amazing mother to her two boys. She is so loved by all of her friends and coworkers. She is a full-time business owner as a transaction coordinator for realtors. In her busy life, she also makes time to be a part of regular Bible studies. She trains at CrossFit 5 days a week, nearly every morning. And she dedicates her evenings and weekends to her family doing fun things. She cares for those around her, and she is a great listener. She jumps to help even though she may not have enough time in her busy schedule. This is Ada, my firstborn. This is my daughter that I crossed the border with, holding her in my arms for a better life. She is a part of the reason we decided to pursue our dream of freedom. I am so proud and honored and grateful for my daughter. And now, this is what Semida, what Ada wrote about Semida, her mother. Semida is my beautiful, vibrant mom. She is the strongest, most inspirational person I know. She is a mother of 4, a grandmother to 3 boys, my boys and then their cousin. Not only is she the best mom and grandmother, but she is my best friend, a business owner, marathoner and ultra marathoner, 91 marathons, 19 Boston qualifiers, finisher of the 6 major marathons. She's also in the Guinness Book of World Records for running the Tokyo Marathon, her 6th major star. My mom, who wholeheartedly gives and cares for all those around her. Her life has been full of ups and downs, joy and tragedy. Yet she's taken it all in and really lived. Her story and the way she lives her life inspires me, and I hope it helps others to see the value of what she and my dad worked so hard for. That's so awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much to both of you for being willing to do this. I know it's not easy, reliving difficult moments, learning about difficult moments. So I just want to say thank you guys for doing this. This is very important. Is there anything you guys want to say before we dive into this?
Thank you for this chance to share the stories that we have, and we're really excited about it.
Yes, thank you, Flavius, and your crew for working so hard this morning to get this thing done. Thank you. I appreciate
It's our
it.
pleasure. It's our pleasure. Well, should we dive in?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Well, what better place to start than the beginning? Semida, would you share with us your first memory in Romania?
I believe I was around 13 or 14 years old. So clear to me, there was a Sunday, it was very quiet. Usually the street that I lived on, it's been a lot of motion, a lot of noise. But that day, it was so quiet. And I just found a time to go on the hill, which is just behind my house. And I climbed the hill, and from there I saw the whole street, my whole world and life that I had. And for some reason, I wasn't satisfied, and I said to God, I said, it must be more than this. I wanted more, but I didn't ask God for more. I just remember saying that it must be more than this. And this memory stuck with me for years and years, although I was probably not too young. I'm sure I had more memories than that, but that's the one.
That is beautiful. Can you tell us about your childhood and teenage years? Basically, what was life like growing up in Romania?
I was born in Baia Mare, northern part of the country. I have two brothers, so I'm the only girl in the family. My childhood was pretty good. I had a pretty fun and good childhood. We grew up on a street with a lot of kids, pretty much everyone close in age. We did have a lot of chores and work to do. I remember we used to walk to school. It would be about 2 miles. We always made it fun, no matter what, with the kids. I believe I was in middle school when I was recruited, in a sense, in a sport. So I started running. I was very young in my life. So with that, I had the opportunity seeing the country, our country. We were not able to leave the country back then. At home, we used to help our parents. Every day we'll have chores, we'll come from school, get out of our uniforms, put on regular clothes, and just do work around the house.
And from what you remember, what was everyday life like in communism? I mean, that had to affect everyone in different ways, but also similarly at the same time.
We felt, even as young kids, we felt the system, the oppression. There was a lot of restrictions. Things started to get worse in the 80s. I remember as kids, our parents will have us go and stay in line for food, especially milk, eggs, butter, and bread. These will be items that they were not, haven't been easy to be found, so you have to lie down very early in the morning and then stay in line. And sometimes you don't get to buy those things. Sometimes it will be short that day and there's no more left, so you have to come again.
What was your family life like? What was the dynamics of parents? What did they do for work? And what did you and your siblings do?
My father worked in a mine when he started working in a mine when he was 15. He worked for a coal mine for 15 years. Then he was diagnosed with silicosis, and he had to stop working in the mine. So he started working in a lumber yard, and we as kids had to help him. After school, he will take us, especially me and my oldest brother. We will go in the wood with him. He will cut the whole tree, and we have to help him. He will measure, and we will cut and then split the wood. And then in the fall, he will have to sell the wood for families that need it for a fire. Wow. My mom was the most neatest and cleanest person I ever knew. She will sell tickets on a bus as a public transportation.
Oh, okay.
So that was her job for many years. But she will make sure that we as kids will have everything ready for the morning to go to school. We will look good for that day. There was no exception. So I remember very well that her schedule will be on the route that we lived, and that will be for a full month. So that month, I will have to be at the bus station at a certain time ready for her. She will take 5 minutes to braid my ponytails and have me ready for school. So I will get off the bus the next station where the school was.
Normal family stuff
Normal
in the
as
midst
was.
of not normal life. I did want to also ask you, what was life like as a Christian for you and your family in a communist country?
So I did grow up in a Christian family. My grandparents on both sides were Christians. My mom and my dad were Christians. The oppression on that side from the system was because we were not Orthodox, we were Pentecostals. And our way of worship and it was so conservative and so obvious to the others that we were very much ridiculed and mocked, and people were not looking at us as bright and smart and capable. So it was difficult, especially when you're young and you have dreams and you hope that one day you will do something good with your life. It's just ruined into
It doesn't help with confidence.
good confidence, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you, Semida, if you could share a little bit about your husband Vio's childhood.
My husband comes from a family of, there were 7 siblings. He was born in Câmpeni, Alba Iulia, more central of Romania. His mom was from Câmpeni. My father-in-law, his dad, Vio's dad, was from my hometown, from Baia Mare. So they lived there for a couple of years. His dad was a policeman.
Oh.
So he had a good offer back in the town that he was born. Vio, when I met him, he was a watchmaker. So Vio, the strong, the macho man, what fascinated me the most about him as we were married, his perfection and diligence that he will work with mechanical watches.
Oh, interesting.
He will work on those little watches, like putting all these small pieces together, and at the end he will call me and say, come and see how it starts. It's almost like, I haven't seen heart surgery, but we've seen movies where it's just give a little bit of a, and that's how watches work. You'll say, come and see how it starts, and just a little gentle touch, and it's alive.
Which leads me to, how did you guys meet?
So we met in church, Baia Mare, our church. He followed me after one sermon, and he told me that he has a book that he borrowed from one of my cousins. So this is how we started talking, and then he walked with me to the bus station, and we started talking more, and we started seeing each other through the week. There was no communication through phones or anything else. It was just by word. Let's meet next week, so on certain time, and that's how we.
And what drew you to him? What made him stand out?
Vio was very confident in his skin. Vio was a young man with an absolute strong self-esteem, and I think I lack on that back then, and for some reason I thought that that's something that will complete me.
Now, what did your parents think of him? Because that could go either way. So, yeah, what did your parents think when they first met him and thought about you dating and all that?
My father loved Vio. First time when he So when they met, they connected, they had so many things in common, so it was easy and no problem at all. Now, my mom, on the other hand, Vio was not the man that my mom dreamed her daughter will marry or date. But she warmed up to him in time, and she actually learned to respect him, love him, and actually see the true character that Ray had.
What was your first year of marriage like? Our first years of marriage in the U.S. here, our issues are different than the issues you had. Our struggles are different. You know, we live in a free country here. Romania was not. So what was that transition like for you?
Well, we met in March of 87, and we got married in November of 87. So a very short time to get to know someone. And we, of course, brought a lot of unknown in our marriage. But I have to say, it wasn't extremely difficult. It was probably because we were busy with work. We always knew that marriage is a commitment, a sacrifice, and we both agree that that's what we want to do. And of course, we loved each other, and we got pregnant right away. Yeah, but of course, it wasn't easy. I mean, it's first year, you have to learn about that person, a lot of things, and the family and everyone else around you. So,
Semida, how did Vio tell you he is wanting to escape the country? How did you feel about it when he first approached you about it?
so we had a Ada, September of 88, and that was we had her for her dedication a couple of weeks after, and we had a big celebration, family over. We celebrated our daughter, and I remember that evening after everyone left, we put Ada to sleep. Then Ray started talking with me, and he said, "Have you ever thought of leaving Romania?" And I said, "Yes, I have. But now we have a family, now we have a child. I don't know if it's possible." But my thoughts were about leaving Romania even before we were married. So we talked about it, and we both agreed that we can have a better life and a better future for our kids if we try to escape.
What was your initial thought once it started, once the idea came into both of your heads? What were you feeling? Were you feeling fear or excitement or hope?
I don't know about excitement. I was for sure scared. I mean, we knew because those were the times that people were leaving. Almost every day you will hear that somebody left the city. So you're just scared, but you're so determined and so willing to do something better with your life. And the fact that things were so bad in Romania made so many people make this decision.
Before we get too far into this story, this amazing story, we are currently in Vio's man cave. I wish everyone could see how amazing this room is, but I know that Vio is not with us anymore. And so, Ada, I wanted to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about that, and thank you for being willing to do that.
Sure. So just over 2 years ago, my dad had a paragliding accident. He loved to fly and was really passionate about it. And unfortunately, we lost him, but he died doing what he really truly loved.
Yeah.
he wouldn't have picked anything different. I think he really truly lived his life.
No, thank you. I know it's difficult to express all that. But before we get into Semida's story, I thought it would be really important for us to hear part of Vio's story. I mean, he is the reason your family is here. And so I thought it'd be really honoring to share and hear a little bit about that. Would you mind?
Sure. So his story we've gotten from my mom, grandparents, family members, the family friend that went with him. So I know that they left. Well, so it started, the atmosphere at the time was very hostile to, even you didn't know who you could trust, who you could talk to. And I know that my mom and a friend had been talking about it. And so my dad had approached her friend's husband and said, "Hey, have you ever thought of leaving?" And he was a little cautious at first, didn't really admit to anything, said, "I don't know what you're talking about," wasn't sure exactly kind of what my dad was getting at, essentially. And then they planned a dinner, had some more conversations, really truly got to know each other. They were neighbors in Chicurlo. And they ended up deciding, he said, on New Year's Eve, that they were going to make this decision and fully commit to this plan.
Wow.
And so in about springtime, around March, they decided to go. They were able to get the funds needed to pay the guide. And they really made a good partnership together because his friend knew that he saw my dad as somebody who was strong and willing and like trustworthy and wouldn't leave him behind if something got, out of hand or they got into trouble. So he knew that he would be in good hands with him. And he just said it was a good mutual trust relationship. And so somebody that you could do something like this with. So the plan was that they would take the train to a bordering town and from there they would walk. The experience they didn't run into any guards or any issues necessarily with that. It's just that it was a long, hard walk. The guide was ahead of them about 100 meters, he said, just to be able to give him a signal if something was wrong, if they saw a guard or a soldier or somebody to tell them to run. And it just kind of that was their plan. So as soon as they got through the border, his friend said that my dad said, "I feel free as a bird." And they kept going. And that's when they had connected with the other part of the guide. It was his brother who had a big van that actually had a whole group of them. So it wasn't just them two, there were 3 or 4 others. And they continued on to Belgrade, but they had a connection in Austria. So my dad's plan was to continue to go to Austria and meet their friend there. And so they had this big van. He said they were in the trunk of this van, no care about safety, seat belts or anything like that. They all just crammed in there. And they kept going, and there was this huge line. It was like a truck stop at the border, so it's where all the semi-trucks would go through. And they decided to leave their bag. They didn't have much of a luggage. He said they decided to leave their bags and just took their IDs and started walking. And they said, maybe we'll blend in, look like the truck drivers, and just start walking. And noticed nothing was, they weren't running into any issues until they ran into a Border Patrol guard. And at gunpoint, he stopped them, had them turn around and go back. And that's when he brought them to the police and they were in prison. That experience, according to my dad's friend, wasn't a bad one necessarily. They were treated okay as far as prison's concerned. But there was a part that did put a lot of fear in them, in that they would take somebody every day out of the big group of them that there were, like 30 of them, take one guy, beat him, and then you weren't sure where he was after that, if he came back or if he was sent back to Romania. They didn't know. So they stayed in suspense for, from what I heard, it was 18 days. And my dad's friend was let go first on a weekend, and then my dad was after that on the following Monday. He was let go and told, "You're free to go." Mom, did I miss anything?
What I will add to this, as I remember my conversation with Vio, was that yes, the suspension was really difficult, being held there with no any type of information, any knowledge of what's going to happen with them and what's going on outside that room. For all these people being there for days, it was really difficult. And they will be, as we heard, they will be taken one by one, being interrogated or even beaten. And I remember Vio telling me that through that room there was a small window they all could look, and there was a bus. They will always, every day, they will see a bus. They will see people handcuffed getting into the bus. So that was a clear indication that they were taken back to the Romanian border.
Wow.
That was very painful and hard for them to see, because they never knew who's going to be next. And so, like Ada mentioned, Vio's friend got out on a Friday. Of course, I didn't know about that until later. And yes, Vio spent the weekend in the same cell. At that point, there were just two people left. It was Vio and another person. And what Vio felt, as he was telling me when we met, what he went through, the emotions and the fear and the prayer that he actually put in front of God to see what would be his destiny. It was really hard.
So at this point, you have no idea he's in prison. You haven't heard a word from anyone. How long had it been since you had communicated with him?
So since he left in March, the end of March, we spoke before he left a little bit, kind of planning, thinking this is how things are going to develop. This is how things are going to go with us. You will go, and then me and Ada will come after 3-4 years. That was the rumor, that people will reunite within this time. It wasn't always the case. Sometimes it will take longer, sometimes shorter, depends on the case. But we didn't want to exchange too much information, because we always knew whoever is left behind, it will be interrogated. It will be, you look suspicious and you are part of some type of plan. So we want to leave it to the minimum information. And we always knew that if we get a chance to speak again together, our conversation through the phone, they were listened to, it will have to be also as minimum and as discreet as possible. So for almost a month, I was wandering and walking, going to work. The first 2 weeks, I was not suspicious of anything, but then his co-workers were looking for him and asking. He wasn't showing up at work, so they start checking, and then of course eventually they came to me, and I was taken into the police office, and they interrogated me, and they started asking questions, and of course my answer was always no. I did not knew everything, but I did knew that he left, but I had to say no. The train that will take from his village to Baia, where we both work, it was a very short ride, 15 minutes on the train. We used to hop on the train before he left and just go to work. And that train station will be the one that every day I will see young men getting off the train handcuffed, with their faces down, being so humbled and embarrassed, and you can make eye contact, or you can make gestures of any kind of emotions because the guards are patrolling constantly. I do remember Vio's friend that was already out called his wife, and she came to me letting me know that Vio is okay, he's alive, but he's still in prison, and we have to pray for him. At that point, there were 2 people left in that cell over the weekend with not knowing what was their destiny the following week.
Either being sent back to Romania or
Or
freedom.
Freedom, yes. Yes.
Wow. So how did you survive those months in the unknown with a 1-year-old in Romania with zero information? Obviously, all you can do is pray and hope.
Of course, once the authorities found out that Vio left the country, I was taken into a police station, Securitatea, as we call it. I lost my job right away. I was working as an insurance agent at the time. I had help with Ada because I had my mom and my mother-in-law that both offered to help. So I will go in town and city and try to find work, which I knew that it's not going to be easy or even possible because they knew at that point if somebody's looking for work, it's because a husband left the country. So.
And what did your boss at work tell you why you're fired? What was their explanation?
Yeah, so my boss actually, when they found out why I'm taking into the interrogation, I came back and they told me that I have to pick up my things, and I did. And of course, he approached me and asked me if I knew that my husband left, and I said no. And he, at that point, he thought that my husband left me behind or didn't care for me or our daughter. So he just gave me a pat on my back saying, "Oh, you'll be fine. You're young. You'll find somebody." It's just, and you just keep your mouth shut and endure whatever humiliation you're put through and keep going.
So did you end up finding another job to provide for you and your daughter?
No. But again, I was blessed to have my mother-in-law and Vio's family and my parents helping us.
At what point did you realize or come to the conclusion that it's your turn now and you have to escape?
So after Vio was free, again, he contacted me through the phone. It will be a public phone that you have to make arrangement to get there and how you communicate.
What was sorry for the interruption, what was that first conversation like? You hadn't heard from him in a month. When you finally heard his voice, how did you feel and what was that like?
Yeah, I don't quite remember emotions. Of course, I was happy to hear his voice and know that he's alive, first of all, and then that he's free and there's a chance for us and our family to have a better future. So yes, I was excited, but you don't do that stuff over the phone when somebody's listening. You focus and concentrate on what's next. I believe we started talking a little bit about switching what we initially thought it's going to happen, because Vio, being already in Yugoslavia, he knew that it's going to be a long period of time in order for me and Ada to get to our destination, which we initially thought is going to be Australia.
Wow.
And at that point, he told me, look, the plan changed. I will do everything in my power to have you come over here, because a lot of bad things are happening. I hear a lot of rumors about families splitting up because they're separated, and this is not what I want for our family. So he was very clear on that. And he asked me if I agree, and I said, yes, I will do that.
And how did your parents feel about you wanting to escape to join him? How did they feel when you first approached them, say, hey, this is my plan? Oh, by the way, I also have to take my 1-year-old with me.
I didn't tell everybody that we planned to leave too. So only my mom and my oldest brother knew that I'm actually gonna approach this. So yeah, I didn't tell my in-laws, I didn't tell any of my other siblings, so it was just my mother.
So could you walk us through the steps of how you came up with your plan, and who were you with, and that process?
Sure. So again, Ray made arrangements, Vio made arrangements for me to leave and somehow get to Yugoslavia, where he was already in a refugee camp. So I left Ada with my mom one evening. I went to the train station, which would be the very last train from Baia Mare to Timișoara. It was the last train will be around 11 p.m. I remember I went to the train station ready to hop on a train. I got my ticket, a small bag with me. And waiting there, I couldn't do it. I couldn't think how I'm gonna be without my baby. So I did not go on that train. There was no more buses at that hour. So I took a taxi. This man took me to a route that was not straight to my mom's house where I wanted to go. And I knew the city. I know every single street. And I was scared and I was shy, and I said, why are you going this way? And he started talking things and just wanted to see, I don't know what, in the city. And he started talking about what if, him and I stop somewhere. So I was shaking and I was very scared, and I said, if you don't stop the car, I'm going to jump. Cars back then didn't have anything out of power, so you had to actually pull the lock too. So I was already with my hand on the handle of the car, and he stopped. He stopped and he let me go. And I remember I ran. It was May. It was raining so hard, and I ran. And my mom opened the door, and I couldn't stop crying. It's so humiliating, and it's so hard to talk about this.
So next day I had to go and call Vio, and I told him, I'm so sorry. I couldn't leave Ada behind. And he was not mad. He was not upset. He said, no problem. It's okay. I'll work things out so you and Ada can come.
So at this point, you and Vio are communicating, trying to come up with a new plan. Would you share that with us? What did you guys come up with on how to get you and your baby across the border?
So the new plan was, I had Vio's brother, older brother, George, come with me to the next phone call that we had. And he asked Vio if he can help him as well to escape. And he will help me with Ada through our journey. And Vio agreed, and that was our plan.
And so now, can you share that story with us on how it went and what it was like going through that whole journey while carrying a baby?
Yes, it was June 18. I will always remember that day. So we planned with my brother-in-law and his wife. We had a family event in Vio's village, and somehow I was supposed to bring Ada as well there. But we knew that if I do, it's gonna be questions. Why can I stay with them over the weekend? And because they love to have Ada over, so we decided not to bring Ada to the event. So we were pretty good at having fun to the engagement of one of your sister that day, but we find excuses that Ada wasn't quite well, and so that evening I went back home to my mom's house. I picked up Ada in my bag, and my brother-in-law and another friend of his that was part of the group, and we actually took a car. So we drove to Timișoara, where we were supposed to meet with others as planned by Vio and his connections. So we got in Timișoara a morning. We left in the afternoon. There's a long drive in the car, so early the next day we were in Timișoara. We go into this apartment where is this sister from church, very unsuspicious, very unknowledgeable, kind of, yeah, and she harbors a lot of people in her apartment.
People that are
People that are about to escape.
Gotcha.
From all over the country. We didn't know each other. At that point, it was just me and my brother-in-law and his friend. And of course, Ada with me. So all the other people, we were 10 at that point, 10 people waiting. So by evening, a new person shows up and is telling us, okay, this is what's going to happen. You will go into first car that it's lined up at the entrance. You go in the next car, and the next group in the third car. There were 3 cars. All you have to know is if we're caught, we're all coming from a wedding that took place in a certain town here, and we're all going home. And home is next city close by. That was planned. If we're not getting caught, nobody's talking anything, nobody's stopping anywhere, but when the car stops, that's when you guys jump out of the car in the field. It was a cornfield. So we followed the instructions, and that's what we did. The car stopped within a couple of meters from each other, not very far, and we all got out of the car as quick as we could and just enter into the field of corn. I remember we gathered together, talking with our main guide that was supposed to take us to the other side of the border. At that point, it was around 11 p.m. Ada was okay. She was in my arms and sleeping. I had a small bag across with a couple of things that I put for her, change of clothes for me and her. I remember Vio told me on the phone, make sure you get a brand new pair of shoes. You'll need it for a good walk, so they have to be good shoes. So we started walking. There were fields of corn, and then there were open fields with nothing. There was something planned, but I can't recall what was it. And I remember we left the main road and we saw a couple of lights, and we're making our way through the fields. It was getting late, and Ada got uncomfortable and started to cry, starting being fussy, and
As babies do.
as baby do. And so at that point, people were starting to getting agitated. It's like, what's going on? Can somebody make that baby stop crying? It's like, so I got very nervous and uncomfortable, and I felt so bad. And I stopped and I told my brother-in-law, I said, look, I'm probably it's best for me just to turn back, and because I don't want to risk anybody from here. People were coming to us. It's like, make that baby stop crying. It's like, we're going to get caught. We're in big danger. And my brother-in-law was, no, we need to give her the medication that we had. So we did have some sleeping pills with us that I was hoping that I won't have to use it. But at that point, those people were so scared. So I decided to give Ada the pill. But what I did, I remember that I had a little tiny pill. I can't recall what was it, but it was a sleeping pill given by a nurse. She knew that it's not life-threatening. It was just going to help her sleep better than in her bed.
Hopefully for a while.
For a while. So I remember I tried to chew the pill a little bit with my teeth and then put it into her little mouth just to make sure that, with the little milk that I had in a small bottle. So I guess she fell asleep. She slept the whole way. But I wanted to say that we walked for probably 6 hours, all kind of fields. I remember going through a canal with dirt. It wasn't much mud or anything bad. I remember we had to cross over a big metal pipe. It was huge, it was big, and we couldn't stand and walk. We just had to go on our belly and just crawl, kind of, over the thing. So my brother-in-law took turn, and he will hold Ada, and then I carried her, and then his friend carried her, and she was sleeping. She was okay. We got lost. This person took us to the border. He stopped at one point, and we all looked at him. So what's happening now? And he hesitated for a couple of seconds, and then he said, I think we're lost. I don't know exactly where we are.
How did you feel when you heard that?
You don't feel good when you don't know where you are. And you have no idea. Even when you think somebody guiding you knows where you are, you don't know where you are. So he finds his way somehow, and we finally see the borderline. And here's a long line of fence, barbed wire. So I said, okay, this is it. This is the border, Romania, Yugoslavia. So we start digging. They made us dig a little bit under the barbed wire so we can go under. The patrol will go every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes from one post to the next. Where we were not very close to one of those towels, but we could see a little light in the distance. So we were told to dig, and not a lot, but just enough so we don't get caught with our clothes in the barbed wire. So we made it under one by one, got under. And I do remember once we were on the other side, our guide said, now I want you all to turn and look back, because this is the last time you're going to see Romania this way.
Wow.
So from there, we kept on going, and it was getting light outside. It was summer. It could have been around 5:30 to almost 6 a.m. because I was in a distance. Again, we'll see houses in Yugoslavia, especially villages. Houses were not very close to each other. They will have big properties, people. So I will see a house in a distance, but to the next one, it will be another mile or probably more. But I could hear roosters. It was morning. So our guide, he needed to go out on the street and look for the cars that were supposed to come and pick us up. But because we wasted time and we got lost for a little bit, he wasn't sure if they're there. He came back and he said, I think they're gone, but I'm hoping they will be back. But you, and then he turned to me and he said, you can take your daughter and start walking, because all the others wanted to keep going to Austria. They had the same destination. They didn't want to live in Yugoslavia, stay in Yugoslavia. It was too risky. But you already have your husband here, so you're okay. You just have to walk. You don't have to say anything to anyone. People here see these things almost every day, and someone might take you to the police station. All you have to say is say Belgrade, and they will know where to take you. He assured me that I'll be fine, I'll be safe, nothing is gonna be going wrong. I do remember that I changed my clothes because we were already dirty and muddy, and I put on a dress that I had with me, and I said goodbye to my brother-in-law, And he wished me luck, and I said the same thing to him, and I just started walking on a empty street with dogs and probably a rooster here and there, and walking. I remember that I see a car coming towards me, so my heart started beating really hard, but it passes me, it didn't stop. And another one, and it didn't stop, so I just keep going, I just keep walking. And then 10 minutes later, I see this car coming from behind and stop next to me. And it's this guide, our guide. It just gets out of the car and he looks at me and said, "You're a lucky woman." So apparently the cars that were supposed to wait for us waited it, and then they made their way back to the border and pick up all the other people. And I got in one of the cars, and I remember so well that driver, he was driving and he keeps turning back and he'll say, "Mamma mia." And then keep driving and again turning, say, "Mamma mia." I don't know what made them think that it's so curious or so strange or yeah, that
Well, did Ada wake up eventually?
not at that point. She was still sleeping.
Wow.
She was still sleeping.
Pill worked.
Yes.
Really good. So we drove for hours. It could have been 3 hours, if not longer. And next stop was in Belgrade at the refugee camp, where the driver and the guide said, "Okay, so this is where Vio is." And someone comes to me and said, "So who are you looking for?" And I said, "Viorel Moldovan." "Oh, yes. He's in the class. He's taking English classes, but let me go and see if I can get him out." Vio came, and Ada was still sleeping. Yeah, it was a good moment.
What did he do when he saw you guys?
He hugged us. He was happy. He took Ada and
He said, "What'd you do to my baby?"
I don't know. I can't remember what he said, but it was a good moment. It was really, really nice to be reunited.
Yeah.
Our little family.
Then what did you guys do next? You obviously went back to the refugee camp. How long were you there? What was life like in a refugee camp? Would you mind sharing about that?
Sure. So yes, we ended up going to the refugee camp. I think the following day, Vio took me to the immigration to report that his wife and baby are with him now. It was another process, paperwork for me, and to be registered with the classes and whatever was going on in the camp. Refugee camp in Belgrade was okay. We knew that it's temporary. We knew that it's not something permanent, and we could for sure easily deal with whatever was going on. So nothing bad, horrific happened. The camps were actually there, offered by the United States. They were for sure some orders that they were supposed to function and operate. Now you're in Europe, this is different. They don't always follow rules and regulations. So food wasn't great, especially when it comes to feed a baby, a child. I remember milk was so limited. It would be a very small cup of milk, and it didn't even have the color of milk. Vio and others will try to work to provide extra money for food and to have something for us to be able to, because we didn't know how long it's going to take for us to leave the refugee camp. I remember we were transferred from from Belgrade to a different refugee camp, somewhere more remote area. It was harder because there was absolutely nothing to do there. Absolutely nothing. In Belgrade, we had a big city. We could go and communicate with our family through phone calls.
Did they say why they transferred you?
Yes. Apparently, Vio was still involved in helping other Romanian crossing the border.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So it was a punishment. They will transfer you to a worst camp to stay there, and you're pretty much isolated. There's absolutely nothing to do. No work for Vio, no food was okay there, but nothing to do, nothing, and just wait. We stayed there for about a month, and then Vio found his way with connection to take us back to Belgrade.
I imagined he would. Yes. He has a lot of connections.
So we stayed in a refugee camp in a small room with 2 twin-size beds. And the room literally was 2 twin-size beds on each wall, and in between will be 2 nightstands. There was no kitchen, for sure. There's not. We will go and eat in a common area, and if you want to make something extra, you will borrow something from the next door. At that time, we kind of got to know each other, the next door family or couple or whoever was there. But what was really difficult was that many times we had to share our room with another person. Imagine it wasn't easy for a family of 3 to squeeze in a small bed and make room for a strange person, which we greatly accommodate because he was going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And so, how long did you end up staying in a refugee camp overall?
So I got there in June, and we were granted visa for United States in November. I mentioned that our initial plan was Australia. By the time Vio was offered the interview, Australia embassy was closed, was not accepting any more refugees. So our 2 options were Canada and United States. So for me, it was really difficult because I knew a lot of people from our hometown that immigrated to Australia, and I had a family there, a cousin. So, but we had to make a decision. So we decided that United States would be our choice. And
did they tell you where in the United States?
Not then. So when we were granted the visa, when we were asked to go to the office and pick it up, that's when we found out that a Catholic church in St. Louis, Missouri, was our sponsor. And that date of November the 30th of 89, that will be our flight to St. Louis.
And at this point, did you know of anyone in the United States? Any connection, any relative, distant relative, anything?
No relatives, but people that we met through the camp all this month. Some of them already left before us. So we kept in touch with them. The minute they arrived in the States, they sent us their phone numbers, and we will be able to connect with them regardless where we will be in the States.
Wow. So, what was it like boarding the plane, knowing you've kind of you've succeeded in your pursuit of freedom? You're leaving the past behind and heading into a new life, basically. You know, how did you and Vio feel? Was it overwhelming, or you still had doubts that it would still happen? You know, like, how did you guys feel as the day came to board the plane?
Well, we were definitely excited, nervous, but excited. Finally, we got a visa and we got tickets to fly. And it was first flight for Vio and first for Ada. But yes, we were excited to go on that big Pan Am. I remember it was 2-story plane, and it would be a smoking area in the back, ironically. And Ada has so much fun because she was able to climb the steps and move in the plane a little bit. They were both sick, Ada and Vio. They didn't like the flight, but it did not matter. We knew that it's temporary, even the flight.
Wow. What a story. So, what were your first few years like in the US? I mean, it's a different kind of survival. You don't speak the language, you don't know anyone, you're in Missouri, of all places too. You know, it's not like New York or some big city. It's you know, St. Louis, Missouri. What was it like? You know, how did you guys make it?
So we arrived in St. Louis, Missouri airport, and we knew that somebody has to wait for us. And yes, there was a person, a lady, with our name written on a big board, Moldovan family, and we spotted her. We went and saw her. We were so happy to see that somebody's actually waiting for us. So she took us to she was actually a third generation Romanian
Oh, wow.
child, but she was an older person, and she speak very little Romanian, but enough to have a good communication. So she took us in her car, and she was so excited that she decided to take us and tour the downtown St. Louis and see the art. We were not interested. We were so tired. We were so sick. But yeah, she was so nice and kind. And so we got in an apartment with 2 boxes with food. We had a queen-size mattress, nicely made with clean sheets and covers for us. And Our Lady Mary told us that someone will come in the morning to take care of us. So the next morning, somebody came to our door. I can't remember exactly how many people came, but definitely and wonderful, wonderful people that's smiling and happy to help, and took us to different offices to get us our paperwork ready and in order, and give us more information about the city. And we're going to be in that apartment for at least a month that they purchased already for us. I mean, being paid for it. And we'll have to reimburse the company, the agency that sponsored us in time, which will be payments, which was great. We gladly accepted that. They started helping Vio with finding a job. He did shortly after, probably within a week. He found a job as a mechanic. The wages back then were $4.25. He was happy. I will be home with Ada pretty much all day. After a week, we learn our way to the laundromat, and we'll walk both of us there, do laundry, come back. And Walmart was not far from us, and we will walk there and do a little shopping. I do want to mention that when we arrived in the States, we had $50 with us. That was our budget. That's all we had, $50. And first thing that Vio wanted to purchase, he needed so badly a mirror to shave. There was somehow in that bedroom, there was no mirror. So I still have that little mirror with me.
No way. Did you guys have any hopes or dreams, things that you or that Vio wanted to do right away, you know, in a new world or a new country, a new life? What kind of things were you guys talking about back then?
So 2 weeks after we arrived, the revolution in Romania started. Everyone, every Romanian that we already met at church, which was like 50 miles away, we started going now. It would be probably a second Sunday that we've been contacted by some brothers and sisters, knew that someone came in St. Louis. At that point, people were confused, trying to make decision. Do we go back? Do we stay? And I said, let's go back. Things are gonna be better now. Let's go back to our families. I miss my mom. I miss. And Vio was like, no, we are not going back. We are here to stay. This is what we want to do, and this is what we're going to do.
Wow.
Yes, he made the right decision, and I did not object after that. We got our first car as a gift from a brother in Union, in Missouri. It was, all I know, it was a station wagon. It was a very old car, but we were so appreciative for it. We used that car for many years after. We drove in that car 2,500 miles all the way to Seattle. We had a flat tire in Pocatello, Idaho. We slept in the car in on rest area. We ate McDonald's and Wendy's, but we were together. Our plan was to leave St. Louis because the climate, it was not what we could tolerate. It was so different than Romania. And we, at that point, were in contact with our friends from the refugee camp, and they told us about Washington and Oregon State. So we said, let's go and explore. If we don't like Washington, Oregon, driving through California, Texas, we can always come back to St. Louis if we want to. So we drove, and it was April when we started seeing green, evergreens, and fresh air. And I remember when we first, on I-90, our first exit was at 156th Street, close to Bellevue Community College. That was the address that we were given to drive to. We looked at each other, and that was the decision automatically made. This is it. This is where we're gonna live.
As we're nearing the end of this episode, would you share what your family life looks like now? You can share about, maybe you want to share about your family as well, and let us know what it looks like now, and also what you guys ended up doing for work all these years. And I think that'd be good for people to know too.
We continue to
live our life. We had kids. We started looking for work. Vio was not shy of finding jobs. No matter what, he will work. He started doing janitorial jobs in the evening, nighttime. Many times I join him and I will go with him, with Ada, holding hands. And
And I believe he also
Pregnant.
worked with my dad doing janitorial work.
yes,
back then.
Vio recruited your dad, eager to work as well. And he took anything just to, yes. That's how we connected with your family.
How many kids did you end up having?
So we had 3 additional children after Ada here. They were all born here. And for 7 years, we remained in Washington State. We got our citizenship, and 5 years after, we were so proud, and so humble and so honored to become US citizens. And we had to take Ada to the interview. So, of course, she was very young, and person there that was doing the interview wanted to include her in the interview because she was an immigrant as well. So he asked her if she knew who was the president at the time. And at the time when we took our citizenship, it was Bill Clinton. So she knew that. So 7 years later, we embarked on a long trip to Europe. We loaded a full container with our semi-van or a van and Vio's friend that they crossed the border with his family. So there were 2 vans and a lot of stuff in those cars, and we flew to Hamburg, and then from there we spent about 2 months in Europe.
Just revisiting all
Revisiting after 7 years. So
Wow.
yeah, 3 more kids after. And we work hard. We were not running away from any opportunity to make our life and our kids' life better. To this day, we're grateful and honored and humble to live in this country, to be given this chance and opportunity.
And so what does your family life look like now?
We grew as a family in time. We added to the family after Ada. We were blessed with Tis, our first son. And of course, Vio was so excited. A year later, we had Eddie. And then 4 years after that, Genevieve joined us. So we're all excited and happy. Now,
It's grown
Ada's
even
married,
more.
it's growing even more. Ada's been married for quite a while with 2 boys, 2 kids, Theo and Max, who I have the pleasure and honor to be called Uni, Grandma. I love them dearly. And Tis and Bree, they also have a baby boy, Remy. They went through some losses. We lost Levi, another grandson, so stillborn. We enjoy Remy very much. Vio, unfortunately, did not have the chance to meet Remy. Genevieve is married as well. Chris, they live here with us on the same property. And Eddie, dating a beautiful girl.
That's awesome. And what about you, Ada? Do you mind telling us about your little family?
Yeah, so I married TB, who our families actually met in Missouri. They, I don't know if they were established for much longer than we were. They invited us over for lunch after church one time, and the story is that his mom had asked him to share his toys with the new little girl that was visiting. And so he gave me a pink elephant, which ironically, one Valentine's Day after we had been dating years later, had no idea about the first story. He gave me a pink elephant because I love elephants. And, over other various animals that I was going through an elephant thing. And so he gave me a pink elephant, and that's when we heard the story for the first time.
Wow.
So yeah, his childhood sweetheart, basically, been married for 12 years or 13. Can't keep track. So yeah, we have the 2 boys. They're awesome. They're the best. They were, answered prayers, and just, we're grateful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
As we're at the end here, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything that you want to leave with the audience, with your families? The point of this podcast is to encourage people, motivate people, and ultimately make people feel more grateful for our lives here. And every time we have a guest, they have a slightly different story, and I feel like it is an honor to do this. And so I just want to say thank you to you guys. And as we're here at the end, is there anything you want to share?
First, I have overwhelming gratitude. It was a big risk that you guys took, and I know it was all with us in mind. It's just the life we've lived so far, and there's still so much life ahead that has been so beautiful and so blessed and just favored. I really thank you. That's the first thing. This opportunity to share my mom's story, my dad's story, has been just an honor, and I'm so grateful and a little bit sad that we didn't get a chance with my dad. I hope that people get out of this to talk to their parents, to friends, and learn their stories, what they've been through, where they come from, because it just brings a lot into perspective. It makes you grateful for where you are in life and what people went through for you. My dad, so many good things to say about him. He was a true trailblazer. He always set the path, always making a way for somebody else ahead, behind him, and always just preparing that. That's, I'd say, his legacy that he has left behind. He's always working so hard, always with just, there was more. There was never he wasn't afraid to try anything. He would say, what's the worst that could happen? You fail, you try again. You can make more money. You can try again. You can, whatever. You learned that didn't work out, and then you move on. What's the worst that could happen? And he would always tell us too, if I could come to this country with $50 in my pocket and have the life that we have now, there's nothing you can't do. With every opportunity that we have, we're so spoiled. That's the only thing I can think of. And I'm just so grateful that we have this chance, that we ended up where we ended up because I was able to meet my husband and make the life that we have. And, we went through really hard times losing him, and we learned a lot though through that. And I think he's still teaching me to be strong, even though there's hard days where we miss him a lot. But I know he really wants us to just keep going, keep pushing. I'll see him again. So that's the biggest lesson I've learned, is just give life everything you have. There's only one chance at it. Really, and that's one thing I said at his funeral, and that it truly meant, is that he packed in twice as much life as anybody else would have. 100 years in his 8 years he was alive. He lived life so full. Even though it was hard, there was a lot, struggle, and it wasn't easy coming to a country not knowing the language, finding job, being able to support a family, buying a home 2 years after being here, like just so many great accomplishments. And he still found ways to enjoy life and really just, I don't know. I mean, he was exceptional person. And yeah, there's just so much. Have so much love and respect for him and the life he led. And I just hope that he continues to teach others. We've found that he left a huge impact and a big legacy on not just our family, but after his accident, hearing what an impact he left on other people. People coming with stories and just memories and random things that we would have never, I would almost be like, oh, he's talking to my friends again, and like, oh, they're stuck and trying to save them. But he was giving them advice, and he was so genuine every time, always. He was not one for small talk. He cut right to the chase. What are you doing with your life? I'm like, okay, so we're having this conversation. And he was just a real person, and he really took every single day and made the most out of it. So that's all I can say. And I hope we do that too.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Thank you for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate it.
First of all, I want to say thank you, Flavius, for giving us the chance to tell our story. And again, you're a wonderful team that spends so much time and to make this possible. Truly, truly appreciate it. I want to say that Vio and I appreciated so much this chance that we were given to live in this country, to learn so many new, beautiful, wonderful things. The opportunity to have our kids and grandkids in the most wonderful country in this world. And I would like to say for everyone that is listening to this, not to take it for granted. This is so special, and there's no other place on this earth so far like this blessed country. Vio and I came with a dream, and we got more than our dream, more than we dreamed of. So giving up, it's not an option. Like Adam mentioned, Vio was always the guy that will knock at any door that needed to be open. And we know very well, so is your dad and your mom, and so many others like us. Just the fact that we're here and we live healthy, and we got to know so many wonderful people and ways of life that make our life greater than we even imagine.
Anything else you want to address with Vio?
With Vio, yes. I want to say that I'm so grateful, first of all, to God for giving us this opportunity. He made this possible. And then from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank Vio for making this possible. He truly made this possible. He's gonna be missed. We would wonder how life would have been if he would have been here. But we know that life goes on, and we have to keep going. And he taught us that many times.
Yeah.
You fall, you get up. So again, like Adam mentioned, we have one shot at this life, and we better do the best we can. And we all decided that that's what we're gonna do, and we will see you again.
Yeah. Well, I just again want to say thank you to you for being willing to share. It's not easy. I can't imagine after everything you've gone through to even relive it. You know, it could not have been easy. And so, thank you for your willingness to be transparent and open. But I believe your story will inspire, motivate, and encourage so many people, and it will give others a voice to want to share their stories, to pass on from generation to generation. So thank you for being willing to do that. Thank you for sharing. And I know there's a famous quote that says like all men die, but not all men truly live. And when I think of Vio myself, I've known him my whole life too. That's what I think of. He lived. And so I think his legacy is going to live forever. And your family will carry that on. And so thank you guys again. Really appreciate it. Now, you, the audience, thank you for listening and watching. It is an honor to share these kinds of stories. And so if you have a story out there that you want to share that you believe will encourage and motivate and inspire people, please reach out to us. Help us share your story. Thank you for watching Pursuit of Freedom, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate you guys so much, and I'm really excited to get this to you guys. How are you feeling?
I wish him to be.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah, me too. But I think this is such a great way to honor him, especially in this room, you know, and
How did you pick this? I thought it's dark. I thought it's.
we came up here, we looked in every room. We literally looked in every room, and both of us were like, this is the room.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is going to be such a cool story for you guys to have for life. Your kids will watch one day and hear the whole story.
I can't wait to show them. They always ask.
Wow.
And so
Thank you.
thank you for being willing to do this. I know it's not easy and a lot of emotions, and yours has a lot of layers of emotions.
Right.
And so thank you guys.